Kent Hughes has told Casey DeSmith to stay patient because the Montreal Canadiens seem to either want to trade him or make room for him in Montreal. So we'll be talking about the impact of all of that. Plus, a Christian Dvorak or Sean Monahan trade might be coming to the Boston Bruins. And finally, we're going to be talking about how this upcoming season has the youngest Habs team in over 25 years. So stick around for this edition of Habs Digest. The first thing we're getting into, Jesse, Kent Hughes told Casey DeSmith that he might be traded. Basically, that's what it is. Of course, Renaud Lavoie summarizing what Kent Hughes has said, and he asked Casey DeSmith to be patient. He still could be traded to another team, or the Canadiens are open to making another move to make room for DeSmith in Montreal. Now, Jesse, we've talked a lot since that trade about whether or not Montreal might head into the season with 3 goalies, where Casey DeSmith may fit, where Jake Allen may fit, but this from Kent Hughes seems to me, well, at least the way it's framed by Renaud Lavoie, makes it seem or feel like Kent Hughes and the Habs don't have any intention of going into the season with 3 goalies. It sure seems like it's either we're keeping Casey and shipping out Jake Allen, or we're keeping Allen and shipping out DeSmith. Is that kind of what you got from this? Because if so, that's maybe a bit surprising.
Absolutely, and it's almost a little bit ominous for Jake Allen that they would just kind of include that at the end or kind of find a way to keep him in Montreal because find a roster spot for him because you have to feel like that would be at the exclusion of Jake Allen, right? So you have to feel like Kent Hughes, obviously the trade wizard is always, he's weighing his options. He's seeing what's best. He probably has his preference of who he wants probably as a backup to Montembeault, but he's going to weigh that between the returns that he's getting for each, respective player. So I think he's being patient. We're going to have to definitely be patient as well. But what I like about this as well is he's just continuing that great reputation that he's garnered around the NHL among fellow GMs and also fans, is this being a classy individual, just like our organization. That's why he's such a great fit with us, right? Just having those clear channels of communications is really letting players know what's going on. I'm sure that they really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's really funny because we were going to say in the first couple of days, like, he hasn't even contacted Casey DeSmith, but now we're hearing, like, he's very transparent with Casey DeSmith. No, guys, he did talk to him, and he said, hey, be patient. We don't know what we're doing with you. Yeah, but I think you make a good point about being ominous about Jake Allen because this isn't the first thing that has made us think, at least, ooh, Jake Allen might be on the move, right? We had that other segment where Kent Hughes was saying, yeah, we want to be under the salary cap to start the season, and coincidentally, about how much money are they over the salary cap right now? Well, it's very close to the amount of money that Jake Allen makes every single year. So, with this and that, it seems almost like, I don't want to say certain, but it seems hard to think that Kent Hughes isn't at least shopping Jake Allen, right, Jesse? Now, we looked at other goalie trades this past year, and they really didn't fetch much. But if the Habs are able to get off Jake Allen's contract without giving up much, do you think they just do it, right? Because, his contract's not that bad, but even if they, maybe give up Allen and a fifth to get a fourth or something, do you think that's maybe reasonable to some team who might want to take him in as a veteran presence?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a changing of the guard right now where it's a lot of those kind of younger or those older players going. Obviously, Casey DeSmith, isn't that much younger than Jake Allen, but I just feel like it would be a little bit redundant to maybe be DeSmith, the person getting traded here. Just, you got to feel like when we got Petrie, for sure he was out the door right away. But, with acquiring DeSmith, it's still a little bit more of a need, even though he wasn't the answer for us really in net. I would say in a lot of ways that he probably would be still an improvement on Jake Allen. And we've heard Kent Hughes say that we want to be more competitive next year. So this is his ways, I think, of kind of slowly kind of making that turn while not kind of trying to blast right into contention window, but still becoming more competitive over time. I kind of see that being one of those moves that in a line with that. Now, obviously, Jake Allen, it's not going to be the easiest trade to do, but we've seen with Hoffman and quite recently with Petrie that it's sometimes worth it to kind of, even though we're not getting a huge return, if we can get a little bit off the books, because Kent Hughes says that he has big plans. He even said specifically he's willing to overpay in the future for a free agent. So all these little moves, obviously it does add up.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll be very interesting to monitor that situation going forward. Habs goalies, a lot of news to be had about them recently. But let's move on to topic number 2 today, Jesse, and that's not a goalie, but a Habs center. And there's lots of talk about the Habs maybe moving one of their centers. And what team better than maybe the Boston Bruins? An article out of Winning Habit kind of mentions that both Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci decided to hang up their skates. And the Bruins now missed out on pretty much all the top 6 centers that there were around the NHL and free agency. But the Habs have a solid core down the middle, and Hughes might just be persuaded to swing a deal with the Bruins, right? He having familiarity league-wide with NHL management because of his career as a player agent, notably for Patrice Bergeron. He knows Don Sweeney, and he knows the organization, and especially if Sweeney in Boston is tempted to, go all in with their aging core, especially after Patrice is gone. You want to keep Marchand going. You want to give Pasternak another chance. He's not really aging, but still, you want to give them a chance to win. And Montreal has a surplus of centers. And should Don Sweeney table an intriguing offer, you have to believe that Kent Hughes might entertain offers for Monahan and Dvorak. Acquiring either of these centers would be a great option as they can mentor the Bruins' young centers. They say, for the Bruins, Monahan's surely more interesting, not only because of his skill set like they say here, but also because his commitment is for less money and a lower term. But at the same time, Dvorak kind of replaces some of that defense they lost with Bergeron. Jesse, I'll take this from 2 angles. Who do you think Montreal would be more comfortable trading to Boston, but who do you think Boston would truly want more from Montreal?
Well, fans of the channel definitely know I've spoken about this in the past. It's pretty obvious we got too many centers, and the Bruins are definitely looking for it as well. So I feel like Dvorak would be a better fit for Boston, and probably the player that we'd be more willing to trade, because Monahan would be a better fit in terms of skill-wise, probably fitting, obviously not that 1C, but probably that 2C role much better. But at the same time, Dvorak, while not being Bergeron, still plays a very strong defensive game, still has that offensive, upside. And I feel like with Sean Monahan kind of being in the fold, being re-signed with the Habs, that it kind of gives us that flexibility to let go of Dvorak. We have that veteran presence, within our centers. We have a lot of centers as it is. So I think we'd be more likely to give up Christian Dvorak. And I think from a Boston perspective that, again, even though talent-wise, probably Sean Monahan, if you're looking for somebody that's going to probably be a little bit more dependable, and when you're missing your 1C and your 2C, having somebody there to really fill that hole and actually be there for the season, definitely going to be huge. So I think for that reason that Christian Dvorak would be the more likely target for the Bruins.
Yeah, I think it makes some sense, right? Again, he's at a high salary, and the Bruins would probably have to try and figure something out to make that work. But at the same time, he fills a need for them, especially on a team that is not willing to go down without a fight, right? They don't want to drop down the standings just because Bergeron was gone. They still got Marchand. They still got Pasternak. They still have some great goalies in Swayman and Omark, Vezina winner and Omark. So they're still in a win-now mode. And I feel like a guy like Dvorak just brings that extra level for a team, that defensive shutdown ability, combined with at least a little bit of offense. Even though he's maybe not put it quite together in Montreal, it could be a very intriguing option. Let's move on to our final topic of the day, Jesse, and the youth movement for Montreal is real. And I mean, we know it, right? We know Montreal's a very young team. We know they have an insane amount of prospects. But did you know that this is the youngest team the Habs have had since 1996-97? Take a look at this list. This is on Elite Hockey, and I saw this on the Habs subreddit, by the way. Someone posted this, but I went to the website and sorted on my own to take a look. The youngest ever Habs team, average age, is 1990-1991. But as you can see right at the bottom, 23-24, that's this year. We are the youngest since, you can see the next most recent is 1996-97, which had a very young Saku Koivu on the team. Jesse, this youth movement is crazy, and you gotta think in the next few years they're only going to be getting maybe even younger with the amount of prospects coming up. It's I think this really signifies, like you said earlier, a changing of the guard in Montreal, and I'm all here for it.
Absolutely. And it's really by design as well. And Kent Hughes at the press conference was really saying that, what we've all kind of deduced from his transactions, but he's trying to get players, a lot of them within a specific age. And doesn't that make sense, right? Just to have a core, have them develop over time together, So I think it's so wonderful to see. We've done nothing but kind of even add to that with Alex Newhook this offseason. Obviously, getting some very high draft picks, which look to be very promising, are going to be huge in that. But I mean, we're young at all positions, basically, whether it's our young forwards, whether it's on defense as well, with probably one of the youngest decors in the entire league, right? And considering how young our team is for how well they played and the amount of injuries, I think is extremely promising for the future of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, promising is almost an understatement at this point with the sheer amount of talent that seems to be coming up, the talent that's already on the team. It's one of the most exciting times maybe ever, or at least in the past 25 years, maybe, to be a Habs fan, right? It's, boy, there's just so much to look forward to in the future, right? It's not like, oh, if we don't win this season, it's a bust. There's no nervousness. It's just like, let's see how they do, and I can't wait to see what comes next. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10,000. We really appreciate all of your support. I'm Josh Goss for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.